You're standing on a bridge, watching something you can't quite name. Below, fish weave through water like they're dancing to music only they can hear. Their movements are effortless, joyful. At least that's what it looks like to you. But then a voice cuts through your observation. How do you know they're happy? And suddenly, that simple moment of connection shatters into 1,000 questions. What if you're wrong? What if you're projecting? What if happiness isn't what you think it is? Not for them, not for anyone. Maybe not even for yourself. This isn't just about fish. It's about every time you've dismissed someone's joy because it didn't make sense to you. Every time you've questioned a friend's choices, doubted a loved one's contentment, or worse, convinced yourself that your own moments of peace weren't real happiness because they didn't match some invisible checklist you've been carrying around for years. We've all become prosecutors in a courtroom that never closes, cross-examining feelings like they're witnesses on trial. And in this relentless interrogation of joy, ours and everyone else's, we've forgotten how to simply feel the splash of happiness when it reaches us. Have you ever caught yourself dismissing someone else's joy? Maybe a friend was beaming about something you found trivial, and your first thought wasn't happiness for them, it was doubt. Why are they so excited about that? This reflex to question rather than celebrate reveals something uncomfortable. We've trained ourselves to measure happiness like accountants auditing tax returns, demanding proof before we'll believe it's real. Here's the thing. Taoist wisdom teaches us that the moment we try to capture joy in words or logic, we've already lost it. It's like trying to hold water in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes. Yet we do this constantly, not just with our own feelings, but with everyone around us. We've become detectives of other people's emotional lives, cross-examining their smiles as if happiness were a crime that needed solving. Check right now if you're already subscribed to the channel. Besides, write in the comments where you're watching this video from. Think about the last time you saw someone genuinely happy. Did you feel it with them? Or did your mind immediately start calculating whether their joy was justified? This is the weight of the past talking. All those times we convinced ourselves that happiness requires certain conditions, specific achievements, the right circumstances. We carry this mental checklist everywhere, and it's exhausting. Worse, it builds walls between us and the people we care about. The ancient Taoists understood something we've forgotten in our modern rush to analyze everything. Sometimes the most profound truths can't be proven, they can only be felt. And that's exactly where our story begins, on a bridge over a river where two philosophers stood watching fish swim freely below, about to have a conversation that would echo through centuries about the very nature of understanding joy. Picture this, two figures standing on a wooden bridge worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Below them, the Hao River flows in that eternal way water does, unbothered by human concerns, following the path of least resistance. The sage leans against the railing, his simple robes catching the breeze, watching fish dart through the clear water. His face holds that particular kind of peace that comes from letting go of the need to control everything. The fish move like living brushstrokes, weaving patterns that seem almost choreographed, yet completely spontaneous. They glide through patches of sunlight that pierce the water, their scales catching the light like scattered diamonds. The sage smiles, not the polite smile we wear in public, but the unguarded kind that happens when you witness something that makes your soul feel lighter. "Look how happy they are," he says, his voice carrying the certainty of someone who's simply reporting what he sees. But the logician can't accept this. He adjusts his scholarly robes, clutching a scroll under his arm like a shield. His mind races through arguments, cataloging objections, building cases. "You're not a fish," he counters, his tone sharp with the satisfaction of someone who believes they've spotted a fatal flaw in the logic. "How could you possibly know what makes them happy? You can't prove it. You can't measure it. By what authority do you claim to understand their inner experience?" The sage doesn't argue back immediately. He lets the question hang in the air like morning mist over the river. Then, without a trace of defensiveness, he offers something radical.
I know it from my own joy watching them. It's not an argument, it's an invitation. He's saying that understanding doesn't always come from standing outside something and dissecting it. Sometimes it comes from standing inside the experience itself, from recognizing joy as a frequency you can tune into rather than a puzzle you need to solve. But can the logician hear it? We've all become prosecutors in the courtroom of other people's happiness. You see it everywhere once you start noticing. Your colleague gets promoted, and instead of celebrating, you think, well, they're going to hate the extra hours. Your sister gets back with her ex, and your mind immediately pulls up all the evidence from past arguments, building a case for why this won't work. We've turned empathy into a legal brief, complete with footnotes and objections. This impulse comes from somewhere deeper than simple skepticism. It's rooted in our own emotional baggage, the accumulated weight of all the times we felt happiness was conditional, earned, or temporary. When someone else experiences joy that doesn't match our internal metrics, when they're happy without the things we think they should want, or happy despite circumstances we believe should make them miserable, it threatens our carefully constructed worldview. So we cross-examine their feelings instead of sitting with our own discomfort. Think about the last time someone shared good news with you. Did your first response bubble up from genuine happiness for them? Or did it come from your mental calculator trying to figure out if their joy made sense? Maybe your friend was thrilled about moving to a smaller apartment, and you immediately thought about square footage and property values. Maybe your parent was excited about retirement, and you worried about their purpose and routine. We think we're being helpful, protecting them from future disappointment. Really, we're projecting our own fears onto their present moment. The Taoist concept of Wu Wei, effortless action, flowing with life rather than against it, gets strangled by this courtroom mentality. We can't flow when we're constantly stopping to judge whether the current is going in the right direction. Every moment becomes a trial. Every feeling needs a verdict. And in this relentless prosecution of other people's joy, we lose something essential, the ability to simply witness happiness without needing to audit it. But why do we do this to ourselves? Here's something that'll mess with your head. There's no way to prove that the red you see is the same red I see. Philosophers call these subjective experiences qualia, the individual, impossible to transfer nature of consciousness. You can describe red as wavelengths and photons, but the actual experience of redness, that exists only in your mind. Happiness works the same way. It's not a spreadsheet you can share. It's a private universe with a population of one. This is where our obsession with understanding other people's happiness hits a wall. We use words like joy and contentment, assuming they're universal translators, but they're more like approximate maps of territories only one person has ever visited. When your friend says they're happy living alone, they're not speaking your language. They're speaking from inside their own experience of solitude, which might feel completely different from yours. The words are the same, but the meaning lives in untranslatable spaces.
The tragedy is that our inability to transfer experience makes us suspicious. If you can't prove your happiness to me in terms I understand, then maybe it's not real. Maybe you're confused or in denial or haven't thought it through. This is the voice of someone who's forgotten that healing from the past doesn't look the same for everyone. Your journey toward inner peace might involve noise and company. Mine might require silence and solitude. Neither proves the other wrong. They're just different maps to different destinations. Eastern philosophy has always understood what neuroscience is only now confirming. Consciousness is fundamentally private. You can stand next to someone, hold their hand, share their space, but you can never truly stand inside their awareness. This isn't loneliness, it's the condition of being human. And once you accept it, something shifts. You stop trying to translate other people's happiness into your own terms, and you start appreciating it as something beautiful precisely because it's foreign. But how do you actually practice this shift? The shift from judge to witness starts with changing one tiny phrase. Next time someone shares their joy with you, resist the urge to ask, "Why are you happy?" Instead, try, "I'm glad you're happy." Feel how different those land.
The first one demands justification, turns their feeling into a debate topic. The second one simply celebrates their experience without needing to colonize it with your understanding. It's a small change that rewires everything. This practice isn't about forcing yourself to feel happy for people when you genuinely don't. That's just another form of performance, another mask. It's about recognizing that your confusion about someone else's happiness is not actually their problem to solve. They don't owe you an explanation that makes sense in your worldview. The mindfulness here is in noticing when your mind starts building arguments against someone's joy and choosing not to prosecute the case. Just let it be. Let them be. What's wild is that this approach actually expands your own capacity for happiness. When you stop measuring everyone else's joy against your standards, you stop measuring your own so harshly too. You start noticing moments of contentment you would have dismissed before as not enough or not real happiness. You begin living in the present moment instead of constantly auditing whether this moment qualifies as worthy. The flow of life becomes less like navigating a legal system and more like watching those fish in the river. The ancient wisdom here isn't complicated. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring without controlling, celebrating without claiming ownership, witnessing without judging. When the sage said he knew the fish were happy from his own joy watching them, he wasn't being sloppy with logic. He was describing a kind of emotional resonance that happens when you stop interrogating experience and start inhabiting it. You feel the splash of someone else's happiness, and instead of analyzing the water's trajectory and velocity, you just let yourself get a little wet. Try this today, right now. Think of someone whose happiness confuses you. Maybe they're content in a job you'd find boring or excited about something you consider trivial. Instead of explaining to yourself why their joy doesn't compute, just imagine feeling that splash of their happiness reaching you. You don't have to understand it. You don't even have to relate to it. Just acknowledge that it's real for them, and that reality doesn't require your certification to exist. This simple act of release, this letting go of the need to explain, is where your own healing journey actually begins. So, here we are, back on that bridge over the Hao River. The fish are still swimming, still happy, still completely indifferent to whether we understand them or not. The logician is still clutching his scrolls, still demanding proof that will never satisfy him because he's asking the wrong questions. And the sage? He's just watching the water flow, feeling the sun on his face, experiencing the simple truth that some things can't be proven, they can only be felt.
The lesson isn't that logic is useless. Logic builds incredible things: bridges, medicine, technology, systems that save lives. But logic is a tool for construction, not connection. You don't logic your way into someone else's heart. You don't calculate your way into emotional freedom. The weight of the past, all those rigid rules about what happiness should look like, all those metrics and measurements, that's what keeps us separated from each other and from ourselves. Spiritual growth happens when you finally set down that weight. Think about the relationships in your life right now. How many of them are being slowly strangled by your need to understand and approve of the other person's choices? Your partner's hobbies that make no sense to you, your friend's career path that seems risky, your kids' interests that don't match your own. Every time you question their joy instead of witnessing it, you're building a wall with bricks made of doubt. And the saddest part? You think you're protecting them. You think you're being reasonable. But really, you're just afraid that if their path to happiness looks different from yours, maybe your own map has been wrong all along. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe it has been. Maybe your definitions of success, fulfillment, and joy are just one possibility among infinite others. Maybe letting go of the past means releasing not just old hurts, but old certainties too. The art of letting go isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It's about loosening your grip on the belief that your experience of life is the template everyone else should follow. It's about trusting that other people's happiness is real, even when you can't feel it yourself. And that trust? That's not just kindness to them, it's emotional freedom for you. So let me ask you something that might sting a little.
When was the last time your logic tried to correct someone else's feeling? Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was an hour ago. Maybe it's happening right now as you watch this, and your mind is already building counterarguments to everything I've said. That's okay. That's the logician in you doing what he does best. But here's the real question. Is he making you happier or just making you right? I want you to do something for me right now. Think of one person in your life whose happiness confuses you. Someone who's content in ways that don't match your blueprint for a good life. Got him in mind? Now here's the challenge. Instead of explaining to yourself why their joy doesn't make sense, just sit with the discomfort of not understanding. Feel that itch to analyze, to question, to fix, and don't scratch it. Just let them be happy in their own mysterious way. Notice what happens in your body when you stop trying to solve other people's emotional equations. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one moment where you caught yourself questioning someone else's happiness? What were you really afraid of in that moment? And here's the harder one. Have you ever dismissed your own joy because it didn't seem legitimate enough? I read every single comment, and I promise you, your story matters. Someone scrolling through right now needs to hear that they're not alone in this struggle. If this resonated with you, if you felt that splash of recognition, then subscribe to this channel and smash that notification bell. We're on a journey to 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you is helping us build a community that chooses wisdom over judgment, presence over analysis. We drop inspiring videos like this every single day, diving deep into ancient wisdom that somehow feels more relevant now than ever. Don't just watch, become part of this healing journey. Your future self will thank you for it.